This man could have been old enough to be my grandpa, and it was his first tattoo, and he was having me do a portrait of his father. But he wanted a little mix-up because in their heritage, it was also Native American. So he had an old photo, black and gray photo of his father, and he wanted me to put like an Indian headdress on it and some feathers and stuff. I morphed it together, and I was honored to give this man, who again could have been my grandpa, his first and only tattoo of his father and his heritage. I was great. And so I went through the whole process to educate him on what to expect, how to prepare, and just going down the list. And part of it, we always make sure you eat, right? Like, it's important to eat, right?
Right.
And you always get the clients be like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, oh, no, like, this ain't like if you're
I'm a Viking. I don't need to eat.
I ate last year.
Like, yeah,
It's overrated.
I'm good. You know, like as if some dudes think you're saying you're a pussy. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with your pain tolerance. It's a blood sugar thing. So this dude, you know, so he shows up for his appointment, and I even clarify, hey, did you eat? He's like, no, I'm good. He rolled, and he's a good old boy, so I'm giving him little room. He's like my grandpa, so I'm trying to respect him, but also look out for him because he don't know what he don't know. My man brings his own cooler full of a case of beer with him, and that's his nutrition for the day, right? Now, you guys already know, in most tattoo shops, like, we prefer you not to be drunk or drinking beforehand, let alone during, right? And I gave this dude a pass, and he's sitting there cracking fucking Busch Light cans all day while I'm tattooing him. And I was the manager of the shop at that time, and already my own people were like, look, you know, and I was just like, it's cool, I'm giving this man a pass, but I couldn't get him to eat. And even when I broke for dinner, and I ordered pizzas, multiple ones, hoping I could entice him. And I knew the dude had to be hungry, but now it's his old man stubbornness. Like, he ain't fucking gonna take a bite of it just because I pushed too hard on getting him to eat. And he was fucking on a liquid diet all day, and I just like, fuck it, you know? And I just tattooed him. And the man was fine all day. When we finally finished, and it was probably a 12-hour session. And when we got, and he was a good old boy. I loved him, you know. He was like straight from the trailer or straight from the fishing boat, whatever. Like, I loved him. But when I finished, we were done, and he unveiled it to him in the mirror. And he stood up, and this good old boy was like in tears of joy. He was so fucking proud, and he loved it. And since he was drinking all day, he called his wife to come pick him up in the minivan. It's him and his granddaughter. Well, and so when they were coming, we've already settled up, and he was just over the moon, and, you know, just so stoked. We went out front of my shop because his ride's coming. And I'm standing in front. We got a glass wall, and we're standing there. And right when the minivan pulls in, he sees his wife, the headlights, and his granddaughter. And he's like a little kid. He's a good old boy that resorted to a 5-year-old of pure joy and excitement. Can't wait to show his wife. And all of a sudden, the blood sugar kicked in. And my man not only just fucking eyes rolled back, and he passed out, and I saw him. He fell back, thank God. I caught him, let him slide against the glass, and there was a bench there, thank God. I caught him, he slid against the glass, and I just ushered him down into the seat. And his own wife and granddaughter had a front row seat. So they're running frantically. Now, you guys know, usually when someone passes out on us, they're out for maybe 30 seconds or less. Right? Yeah. This guy was out longer than anyone that's ever passed out on me. But I knew he was still alive because he was in the deepest, he was snoring. He was out, and he was like, right? Just snoring. Now, I'm trying to be professional because his wife and granddaughter are freaking, and she's like hollering his name and shaking him, and he's just out snoring. I'm trying to comfort them and be like, oh, ladies, it's fine. This is just part of it. He's going to be fine. Normal. You know, this is totally normal, but internally I'm praying like, God, don't let this man die on me, right? Well, while I'm holding him and while he's snoring, this dude loses all bodily function, and I can hear him shitting his pants. Right?
This is normal.
This is normal. This dude, I can tell him just like, I can tell he's full on ass blow, right? It's fucking... And like he's getting a ring around his deal, right? Now, this old man had pride, too. Again, he was a good old boy. He's fucking wouldn't even budge for me all day. You know what I'm saying?
Still don't want that pizza.
This dude was out for maybe 3 minutes, and at the time seemed like eternity. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Even with them shaking him. But when he finally comes to, he's like, you know, he wakes up and he looks at me. He's like, oh, about dozed off there for a minute. And I played dumb, like, huh? Oh, no, like I didn't even notice. You know what I'm saying? Just because I didn't want to hurt his ego. So I'm like, oh, no, you're good. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, I almost dozed off there for a second. But then his wife and daughter's like crying. And it's like, you were out for, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, no, it's cool. You know, I didn't want his ego to hurt. And so I went to help him up just to shake his hand. Like, man, it was my honor. And you could see it in his eyes when he moved and he realized, he's got shit in his pants.
He done fucked up.
He done fucked up. But I am not going to be.
Darrel knew.
I'm not going to be the dude.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
You know, and I'm not going to be the guy to be like, I fucking told you so. I played dumb for his ego and acted like none of that happened, shook his hand, told him it was an honor, and sent him away with his family, walked back in. But, you know, that's one of those times where it's like, oh, you're going to learn today, boy.
All right.
You want some pizza to go home with you?
Was he ever a repeat client after that?
Never saw him
Probably
again.
not.
Yeah, because if he was, it'd be like, who you working on today? It'd be like, Darrel. Oh, shitty Darrel?
So that completely reminds me of a one with me. So it was aisle 9 was open and a big fucking dude come in. And for our listeners, if you haven't seen me in person, I'm 6'5", so I'm not short by any means. And this dude was probably damn near a foot taller than me. He wanted a tattoo on his chest. It was his first long session, and it was another fucking, you know, football numbers in the hours. So 10, 12-hour session. He was drinking a sweet tea from McDonald's, and his wife would go and refill it. And I couldn't get him to eat. At the end of the session, he didn't settle up yet, but he's sitting there, and I'm putting the derm on him, and his wife's sitting there, and we're all kind of cutting it up, and the shop was full at the time. Matt was there and a bunch of other artists, and it was late at night. Well, I put the last piece of derm on, and I see him look at his wife, and he's like, honey, and I knew what that meant, so I fucking just bear hugged him and fucking carried him over the best I could and set him down in another booth beside us. Well, he's sitting there like, you know, we got him to come back too, and his wife's sitting with him. We went in and cut him up an orange, got him some water, and he's eating it and drinking it. Well, I proceed to go into the kitchen, and we're just in there chatting and talking it up, and Matt tells that exact fucking story while he's still sitting in there trying to regain energy to fucking leave. So we're all laughing, and they can hear us talking about this dude shit his fucking pants, da-da-da-da-da-da. So I go to check on my client after we're all laughing and cutting it up, and he's standing up. His head's down. He ain't making no eye contact, hands me a fucking wad of money, and he's like, thank you, and he shook my hand and left. As he turned around to leave, he shit his pants, and I could totally fucking smell it, and everyone else could smell it, and his wife was ashamed. It was just like, oh my God, and they rushed out. And I remember being red in the face, and I'm like, oh, he probably thinks we were talking shit about him.
Right.
So, yeah, that's...
There's that affirmation that we're all assholes. Thanks for the reminder.
That's right, yeah. Well, that's why to this day, it's non-negotiable. If you don't eat, I'm not tattooing you. Even though when people try and be like, oh, I'm good, I'm like... It's happened so many times where I'm like, well, I'm not even fucking putting gloves on till you do.
Lesson learned.
But the weirdest one, I had a guy in my chair, and I was working on an underarm. You know, us as artists, if we're focused on the piece in their arm, I'm not making eye contact with them the whole time, you know. But over the years, I was able to almost in the spirit, like discern and pick up. I could feel their energy shift without seeing it. So now I can feel someone on an energetic level. If they start to go south, I can feel it energetically, and I'll look up and it's confirmed and I know. But now I can sense it to where I can stop it beforehand on an energetic level to save them and prevent it from even happening. But it's taken years of practice of me honing the skill of being that sensitive to their energy. But this one dude, literally, because most people stay put, this dude fell out and wanted to take off running, like into a dead sprint. And his eyes are closed. He's passed out like he's in a dream state. And he's like, no! And he hops out of his chair to take off sprinting. I fucking jumped up, grabbed him by his chest, slam him back into and I'm just holding on to him. And he's going like this. Ah! You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm just like holding him in place so he doesn't hurt himself. And he's like, ah! oh, you know, and finally he comes to and he's crying and everything. And it was like the most traumatic. He had the worst nightmare, and he's like, he had dreamt that him and his whole family got in a car wreck. And it was like the worst dream. But I'm sitting here in the tattoo shop, and the whole shop's looking like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Wow. And that's like, enough of those. I'm like, you're fucking eating. You know, like, damn, dude.